Hi my lovies and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I am so excited to film, and the second this arrived in the mail this morning I was like, I gotta do a video on this. I gotta. But I asked you guys on Instagram if you wanted to see it because I was thinking, okay, I want to film it, but do you guys even want to see it? And an overwhelming amount of you wanted to see it. So 92% wanted to see it, 8% didn't, so I'm going with the majority. Look at this little dinky phone I'm using. I'm back to my iPhone 5 because obviously you guys know that my iPhone 8 Plus got stolen in China. Anyway, that is not important. What is important is what's in this box. This morning I got a lovely FedEx and I was like, I'm not expecting anything. I've nothing coming in the mail. What is it? What could it be? But when I opened it and saw this vault, I was like, oh my sweet God, yes. I had seen Jaclyn Hill's video on the vault palettes. I never expected ever to get this in PR, not in a million years. Just to let you guys know, this actual vault is just a PR sample, so it's just what Morphe sent to the PR. This is not what you're going to be getting. I know it is very, very cute. It's beautiful. Morphe always go above and beyond with their PR packaging. So what you got to do is you just got to twist the vault and it opens like this. And then we've got Miss Jaclyn's face here and all the marvelous palettes on this side. I am going to go through the details of these palettes, the themes behind them, and then I have a tutorial at the end which is on this eye look. I used all of the palettes to create this eye look. I just wanted to kind of give it a good shot. If there's any palette in here you want to see just a tutorial on, then let me know because I'd be so happy to do that. This is what it looks like inside. Okay, so let's get into the palette. We have 4 palettes here and they are beautifully packaged. So we've got the red palette, the yellow palette, the green palette, and the purple palette. And I'm going to go through each individual palette as well as swatching them all. My hair's doing crazy things today, guys, so just please ignore. So the palettes look like this. They have like a shiny front on them, so they're easy to wipe down. That was my major complaint with the original Jaclyn Hill palette, is the packaging on it was like paper. So when your fingerprints got onto it, it was impossible to wipe off, and it just ended up looking like a muddy mess, especially with me because I am just very muddy anyway. It has Morphe by Jaclyn Hill in the center, and then the outside palette is all like confetti, and then each individual palette has the same pattern, but in the confetti is the different colors of the inside of the palette. The first one here is called Ring the Alarm, and this is the red palette. This palette contains 10 shades, and a mirror. I was so excited when I saw a mirror. I already did my makeup today using the mirrors from this because it was just so convenient, and that's what was missing from the last Jaclyn Hill palette, and she did say that she wanted to keep the price point for that palette down, so these are still quite affordable and have a mirror, which I'm super excited about. Obviously this palette is the warm tones and it contains a mixture of oranges, some plummy shades, some dark browns, but everything has that same theme, that same warmth going on with it. So that is Ring the Alarm. The next palette is the Bling Boss, and personally this is my favorite one to look at. I love it. This is the purple one. So as you can see, it has a mix of kind of cool tones, and then you've got like some little warm browns in here, and this shade Rockstar, oh my God, I died the second I saw this. Look at that shade. Just look at that purple. You guys know how much I love purple. I wanted to use this in a tutorial today, but I wanted to use all of the shadows and it wasn't possible. So I had to just select a few that would make a look kind of a bit more wearable. I will probably get the most wear out of this because of the shade purple tones, the richness. I love it. Next up, we've got the palette called the Dark Magic, which is the green palette, and you can see that because it has the green confetti on the outside. This is a beautiful palette as well. Another palette that I was like really, really drawn to. I love cooler tones, and this is definitely a cool toned palette. The only complaint I have about this palette is there's no light green. So if I'm being really picky with it, everything is kind of much more deeper. So I just feel like it's not as cohesive as I would like it to be. But I mean, you can use more of the silvers and this kind of like bronzy, silvery, taupey shade on the eyelid. And then finally, we've got the yellow palette, and this is called Armed and Gorgeous. And I actually like all of these palettes. This is what this palette looks like. So there's more of yellows and orange tones, and then we've got this gorgeous beautiful khaki green shade down here, which I am living for. There's a bit of warmth in this with these shades, obviously, but then we've got this kind of like cooler brown to kind of cool down the entire look. And then we've got this really unusual shimmery white shade, which is super beautiful, and it looks like that. So I'm going to go through all the shades and swatches and talk a little bit about them. But I know you guys are interested in the price point, and they are $15 each. I am not affiliated with Morphe in any way, shape or form. I don't make any money off Morphe reviewing these. I'm just doing this review, guys, to give my honest opinions, tell you what I think about it. And Morphe don't really care what I think of it, but I just wanted to be honest with you guys and just tell you if it's worth the $15. The palettes do come as a foursome if you want, or you can buy them individually for $15 or $49 for the pack, which is really, really, really good value, especially because I've used these on my eyes and I definitely think that they perform really well. But I'm going to swatch them all for you just so you guys can see exactly what they are swatching like. Now, Jaclyn did say in her video that she is not like overly enthused about the swatches, but she does say that it's more got to do with the performance on the eyes. I actually haven't swatched these other than them two shades and a couple of shades on the back of my hand here, so I don't know what they're all gonna swatch like. So I put them on my eyes first, found that they performed amazingly well, and now I'm going to put them on my arm and see how exactly they do swatch for you guys. I'm also getting a little bit, I don't know if anybody else is getting that, a little bit of a feel of like Kylie Jenner's palettes, like her purple palette. I don't know, maybe that's just me, and also kind of getting subculture vibes from this. And I feel like a lot of her palettes were kind of like themed with the purple ones. Any like the blue palettes, the burgundy one, I can't remember the rest of them, but you know, the way they kind of had like a little bit of a theme going on. I feel like that's what these palettes are like, and I actually really love that, because I've been looking for palettes like this for the longest time ever. Really, really small and convenient. Sometimes I find, you know, the 35 palettes, the 35 pan palettes from Morphe, they're a little bit overwhelming, and I'm like, oh my god, it's great to have tons of color, but I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now and I just kind of don't know what to do with my eye look. Whereas I feel like these are more convenient. They have 10 shades, they all complement each other, and they're cohesive. Pull up our sleeves. Whew, that didn't work as well as I thought it would. I'm gonna do live swatches so you guys can see what exactly I think of them. I'm going to start with this one here, which is the DramaticMAC palette. I'm going to go across the top row and the bottom row then. All the shades are listed underneath each eyeshadow, so it makes it so much easier as well to see. So I'm going to start off with Poof, which I kept calling Floof in the tutorial because of the MAC one. So that's what that shade looks like there. To swatch it there. Power Cut, this is Shush. Then we've got Trickery. Then Diversion, that's that top row there. They're all just one swatch each. I'm not going back and forward or anything like that. That's one swatch. Now I'm going to move on to the second row. So we're going to start off with Potion, personal favourite from this palette. Busted, Inside Job, this is Mojo, Temptress. This is like the most deepest, darkest black, Jaclyn said. She said she'd pay $30 for a black like that, and it is pretty intense. So that is the DramaticMAC swatched, and I think they swatched quite well. You can see the colours in all their glory. Personally, I like the way DramaticMAC swatches, and any of the shades I used, which was Potion, Poof, I used Inside Job and Mojo on my eye, and they all worked really, really, really well, and I was really impressed. Next up, we've got the red palette, and this is called Ring the Alarm. I don't know why I wanted to call that the Ring of Fire right there. Ring the Alarm is what it's called. Framed is definitely my favourite shadow from this. So I'm going to go with Lolly first. Then I'm going to take Rush. Next we've got On Camera. Then we've got Boom. And then we've got Alert. Next row we've got Bomb Ass. Then we've got Siren. Then we've got Mugshot. Then we've got Framed, my personal favourite from this palette. And then finally we've got Secret. There is so much warmth in that shadow, or in that palette rather, and definitely a little bit of diversity, but then some shades that aren't really, really that unique in my opinion. That's why this wouldn't be my favourite palette. I know this is probably going to be a lot of people's favourite palette, but because it's not as unique as some of the other ones. It wouldn't be my personal favorite, but you can't go wrong with warm eyeshadows, seriously. So next we've got Armed and Gorgeous, which is the yellow palette. Jaclyn described this as like an outdoorsy, like foresty grass type palette. That's what she just said. It reminds her of the outdoors. So I've got VIP, then we've got Access, then we've got Guilt Trip, Coin, which I really like that shade, and then we've got Agent, which I'm after messing up. So next we've got Top Secret. This is my favorite shade from this palette. Then we've got Smooth Criminal. I love the name of that shade. We've got Secure and Prowl, and then finally we've got Classified down at the bottom there. So I hope you can see them. Out of all of those swatches, I think the ones that didn't swatch the best would be Access, which is this shade up here, and perhaps I think Agent didn't swatch amazingly well, but I used Agent on my eyes today and it came across really nicely. It's quite a buildable shade. It's not like the most pigmented shade ever, but definitely quite buildable. Out of all the palettes, I think this one is the least pigmented, except for this shade down here, which is Top Secret, but I just think those shades are quite buildable. And then the final palette obviously is my favorite one. This is Bling Boss, and it's the purple one, and these are the shades inside. Bling Bling. Then we've got Hush Hush. Then we've got Gem. We've got Piazza. Oh, that shade's beautiful. And then Mystic. Next we've got Sparks. Then we've got Glitz and Glam. Then we've got Rockstar, my favourite. Ballsy. I love the name of that shade. That's a gorgeous shade. Oh my god, it's so pretty. And then finally we've got Berry Treasure, and this is Jaclyn's personal favorite, she said, out of all of the palettes. And this is kind of like a deep shade with kind of like sparkles in it, so that is what the purple palette looks like. So personally, I would agree with Jaclyn on the stance that they don't swatch as amazing as they perform on the eye. I did find that some of the swatches were a little bit choppy, but I found that when I used them on my eyes, I was super impressed with how well they blended into each other, and there was no choppiness on the eye. The brush picked up the right amount of shadow. You weren't getting like too much pigment. We all know the issue that we have with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. I loved that palette personally. I do know that a lot of people did have complaints with how pigmented the eyeshadows were, and they were just difficult to blend and they were too hard to use on the eyes, and there was a lot of fallout, whereas I feel like these are pressed right and they blend amazingly well on the eyes, and I have absolutely no complaint. I used, like I said, all of the eyeshadow palettes to create today's look, and I'm super impressed. If you're asking me, are these palettes worth the $15? I say yes, 100%. $15 is roughly around €12, €11, and I just think that is a super deal for an eyeshadow palette like this. I know the sleek eyeshadow palettes are roughly around that price, and these are much better quality. Jaclyn mentioned in her video that these eyeshadows were all kind of eyeshadows that she wanted to include into the main palette but didn't get a chance to, and that is what these are all about, and they're like the bigger sister to her other palette because there's more of a theme of each one of these palettes. If I was buying it myself, I would definitely buy the Bling Boss because there's not that many amazing purple shadows on the market. I'd buy it basically just for Rockstar, and I love the shade Gem and Palazza, and that shade Ballsy really surprised me as well. So that would be my personal preference, and then my second option would definitely be Dark Magic because I just love those cool tones, and I think you cannot go wrong with the other palettes. All of the palettes are pretty unique, pretty different, and I say kudos to her for coming out with something really unique and different. I mean, we're seeing so many warm palettes at the moment, so many similar palettes, and Jaclyn's known for her colour, and I think she knocked this collection out of the park. It's really amazing. I'm quite happy with them. I love all the shades. I would buy this with my own money, no bother at all, because I think they're super affordable and the packaging's pretty nice and you're getting something different and unique. Yeah, that's basically all I gotta say about that, guys. If you want to know how I got this eye look or what shades I used, then you can stay tuned for the full tutorial. Okay, so I've primed my eyelids, and I'm gonna go in with the first palette here, which is the Dark Magic palette, and I'm going to take the shade Floof, and I'm going to just set my eyelids with that shade just to set my base down. Next, I'm going in with the Armed and Gorgeous palette. I'm going to take Agent, which is this kind of orangey, I think transition-y type shade. It possibly will be, hopefully. And I'm just going to pop that through the crease. I will zoom in for you guys momentarily. Just this bit is kind of self-explanatory. Ooh, that's a nice shade. So I'm pretty happy with my creases just like that. I'm going to zoom in so I can show you guys what I'm doing more up close. I'm sticking with that Armed and Gorgeous palette, and I'm going to go in with this beautiful like khaki green shade down here. I'm taking on a fluffy brush because I just want to disperse it onto the outer corner. So I'm just going to pop that on the outer corner and just kind of blend it into like the inner third of my eye. It's actually blending quite nicely on top of that first shade I placed down, Agent. Next I'm going to take the green palette, and I'm going to take, I think, this green here, which is a pretty dark green. Take this on a tiny little brush like this, and I'm just going to work that onto the outer V and just kind of focusing it more along that tape, just kind of keeping it out there, just adding a little bit of depth now to the look. But I don't want to go right up on top of that green because I kind of want that little bit of green to show through. I'm going to go in with Mojo, which is this kind of like purpley shade. I'm still sticking with the Dark Magic, and I'm just going to go on top just here. I'm just going to add a little bit of it just here. And just to use this palette here, I'm going to take this shade up here. It's taken me ages to try and figure out what to use, but I'm going to take the shade Bling Bling. This is like a pinky champagne-y shade. I'm going to go in with this shade Floof again, or Poof, sorry. Why do I keep calling it Floof? I think that's because there's a MAC eyeshadow, Poof. And I'm just going to pop Poof underneath my brow. Sorry, my brows are a hot mess. I'm just going to pop it into my inner corner as well. So now I'm going to take Ring the Alarm palette, and I'm going to go in with the shade Alert, which is this orange shade. I'm just going to take this shade here and just pop it right underneath the lower lashes. This shade here, Framed, it's like a purpley shade, purpley brown. So I'm going to pop that just on the outer corner of the lower lash line. I know we've so much color going on here, but something different, I guess. Okay guys, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial demo introduction to the Jaclyn Hill Vault palettes and just a little bit of information on what I actually think of them. I really enjoyed them, guys. Like, I think they're amazing. I don't think I've used any shadow out of the entire palette, out of any of the palettes that I just liked. I thought they blended really well. I'm super impressed. The eye look that I created, I really like. It's something really different for me. I'm glad I tried all the palettes for this video. I hope you guys loved this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I will talk to all of you guys in my next video. Mwah! Bye guys!